Hello and welcome to Who's a Good Human. My guest today has spent a lifetime finding out about rescue, loyalty, and the animals who show up for us just as much as we show up for them. Naomi, thank you so much for joining me today here on Who's a Good Human.
Thank you, Sian.
I have to find out about all of your animals because they just sound sensational. So I'd love to start off with Frank.
Yep.
Frank literally jumped into your arms on the street. Tell me the story.
He did. I was living in a small coastal town and I was actually just about to go and visit my mum in another regional town. I had my dog in the car. I was all ready to go. And I saw this little dog just running, tearing along the street with a lead on as well. And I thought, oh no, somebody's really lost this dog. And I got out and he literally jumped into my arms and I could see on his collar a number, or he had a tag, a ranger tag. So I rang the ranger and I said, oh, look, there's a little dog here and it's jumped straight into my arms. And she went, oh, is it black and white? I said, yep. She goes, oh, that's Frinky Dink. Right? Frinky Dink. And I went, oh, okay. Do you know where Frinky Dink lives? Yes. She gave me his number. She said, he knows me. I pull up. He jumps in my car. I know exactly who he is. He's had 4 owners. He runs away all the time. Good luck. Right? So I went to his home and I said, look, your dog ran away. And she said, I'm just sick of him. He's always running away. Do you want him? And I said, well, no, I mean, that's not what I'm here for. And she goes, oh, well, I'm going to take him back to the pound today anyway. And I said, why? And she said, oh, he terrorizes my cats. He runs away all the time. He's just a nightmare. And I said, look, why don't I take him for the weekend? I'm going to visit my mum. I'll take him with me and we'll see how we go over the weekend. And then I'll ask you when I get back if you really want to give him up, because you might just be feeling a bit frustrated at the moment. And she went, okay. So I took him and on the way, we stopped for a toilet break. He ran, got out, ran. He ran to a school yard and there was a school carnival going on and he actually ran with the kids down this race. It was so embarrassing. And the worst part about it is my beautifully well-behaved dog, who was in the car with him, she followed him. I couldn't get her back either. So the two of them are running down this racing track in a school carnival. I don't know how they rated, but I managed to wrangle them back into the car. And I just thought, oh, no, this dog is not going to work. This is a nightmare. So then I got to my destination and I warned everybody, he's an escapee. We've got to be really careful. My stepdad went out to get the paper the next morning and the dog did a runner. And my poor stepdad's, like running all over the town looking for him. And so this, I got a really good taste of what he was like, but he was so cute and so funny. And I thought maybe I can train him. Maybe he'll get better. So I took him back. I went back to his home when I got home and the lady, she barely even realized or cared that he was gone. She just went, oh, no, he's yours now. No, I don't want him. He was the cutest little thing too, Sian. He had ears that looked like a papillon. People often thought he was a papillon and he wasn't. He was a rat terrier. I had his DNA done. So
Yep.
rat terrier is like a Jack Russell.
Oh, okay. Yep.
But they look sort of more like a fox terrier. They're black and white, very small. They're really cute, really cute. And he also had a bit of can terrier in him, whippet. I don't know where that was. He had little short legs, and corgi. But he had these big ears and every groomer loved grooming him with these ears. He looked like, I don't know, it was bizarre, his ears. They were always way too big for him. But he was super, super cute and he was just had so much personality. He used to really monitor the neighborhood. I always said if he was a human in a past life, he would have been a cop or a criminal. One or the other, nothing in between. He really did dislike cats, but I already had 2 cats in my house and he loved them. It was like he knew they were part of his pack, He was absolutely fine with them, but any other cat he hated. He would go nuts at the door, and he also really got irritated by dogs that were not on a lead, which is pretty ironic given that
Because he was
he was
always off the lead,
constantly
escaping.
escaping and, not on a lead. But he felt like he was the authority figure, you know?
And
I'm
you just
sure he did.
and you decided to take Frank on despite the fact that first
Despite
weekend
all of
he
that.
kept escaping.
So
Why?
I took him to dog training
Yep.
and he was exceptional. So he got a ribbon for recall. He was so good at recall, but only on that particular oval during training. As soon as we got home and I tried to replicate it, nah, it never stuck. He did his own thing and he did whatever he wanted. So yeah, he ran away a lot. Got used to people calling me, and saying, "Do you have a little dog?" And I think, oh God, what's happened? What's happened?" He gave me heart failure all the time. He was a turd, but he was he was my turd.
I love that. He was a turd, but he was your turd.
Yeah.
And I just want to go back to the point you made that if he was a human, he would either be a criminal or police officer.
Yeah.
What did that actually look like? What did you observe when you saw him having those behaviors of patrolling the area that you lived in?
Yeah, I mean, it was personal for him. If he saw a dog that was not on a lead or that was walking without a human, he would get completely aggravated. He would go nuts. He would be barking and carrying on and desperate to get outside. And then he would chase them down and, I don't know, admonish them, I suppose. He never got into huge fights because he was too smart for that. He was too small. But he made sure they knew that it was not on, And the same thing with cats. He didn't attack them, but he would chase them and he would tell them off. Yeah.
So funny. In the space that you were living, this small coastal town at the time, did everybody know Frank?
A lot of people knew Frank. A lot of people knew him. He used to, I mean, I gave up trying to contain him because I just couldn't. He just kept escaping. So he sat on a veranda outside, my house, it was quite high up on a hill. He could monitor everything from there. He just watched everything. People knew him, and certainly the ranger knew him very, very well. I renamed him Frank because I thought Frankie Dink was a little humiliating for him.
Yes, possibly.
So
Frankie.
Frank was his name, and Frank. They all knew him because he came everywhere with me, but he also appeared in a book called Pound Pooches that the ranger put together, and she told the stories of these pound pooches who'd gone on to homes and how their lives had changed. And she sent me his mugshot from the first time he was in the pound, and apparently he was in there a lot. But the mugshot is hilarious. I mean, he looks miserable, and he looks miserable, but also kind of defeated in this picture.
So when you got Frank,
Yeah.
he sounds like the kind of dog that would bring not only numerous amounts of stress and funny moments into your life.
Mm.
How did he change your life at the time? Because did you have Frank by himself or was he with another dog?
So I had my dog Ella. Ella had been a really easy dog. Oh my God. I mean, she was great. She was super smart. Kelpie Blue Heeler cross,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
always wanting to obey and please and all that kind of thing. And Frank was, of course, the exact opposite. I mean, he was a terrier. I should have known, But Ella was getting very old at that point, and she was definitely winding down. And Frank, he was actually a good match for her because he wasn't too hyper. I know it sounds like he is hyper, but he actually wasn't hyper. He was a very serious little man. He was quite serious even from a young age. He slept with her, he loved her, he fit in with the family. I had 2 cats as well, and he was fine with them. So he fitted in beautifully, and he was little, which was nice. I liked having a lap dog. for a
Mm.
change because Ella was just a bit bigger.
You've had a numerous histories of adopting animals and rescuing animals, and we're only touching on 3 today out of 10. What did having Frank in your life mean to you besides constant entertainment and slight bits of worry?
Yeah, well, the entertainment and the worry kind of go hand in hand, really. I've had depression since I was, I was diagnosed in my 20s, so long-term clinical depression, which is managed, and I honestly would attribute the cathartic nature of having animals to my being able to manage that long term. And that's something that Frank did and everyone has done, and that is to cause you to care for something else. Caring for someone else or something else is absolutely huge. I think it's up there with medication and therapy. It takes you out of that sort of narcissistic kind of, mental position that you're in when it's all you can think about, when all you can think about is the negatives and all that. And they keep you laughing. I mean, Frank kept me laughing. He always kept me laughing. I mean, he was hilarious, but he was also very in tune with my moods. So that's what I mean about him being quite serious. He wasn't a silly dog in any way. He would lie with me. He would also like to be pampered, and I like to be pampered. He kind of mirrored me, I suppose. He would do Sian, you'd laugh. He used to assume a position when I'd say, Frankie, massage, and he would lie on his back ready for his massage. It was hilarious. And I'd give him a little massage, a little head massage and a little body massage. And he would just lie there with his tongue out. Loved it. Loved it. But, I'm a bit like that too. I'm a little bit of a hedonist and I like being pampered too. So, I get it.
I've never met Frank, but I can picture it, especially paws in the air like you just don't care.
Absolutely.
Tongue hanging out and going, yes, massage me, lady,
Yeah.
massage me. I'm all
Yeah.
yours.
Absolutely. I mean, he wanted to be pampered for sure. And he got it. He got pampered a lot.
And why not? Did Frank and Ava, who is your next pet that we're talking about,
Yeah.
did their time cross over?
Yes. So I got her 2 years after I got Frank, which meant Frank was about 4 and Ava was about 2. Now, like Frank, she was not sterilized and she had come not from an abusive home, but a home where I think somebody had had a young child come along, a baby, and she just didn't get the attention that she desperately wanted, right? And I think she was put outside, so she struggled with a bit of separation anxiety and stuff like that. But when I got her, look, I mean, I wasn't looking for another dog. This was after Ella had died. Frank was on his own, and I thought he is fine on his own. He was a really independent little dude, and I thought, okay, this will be fine. And then the ranger called me and said, I've got this little dog in the pound, and I went, no, 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 right? And she said, I think you should just take her for a trial. I think Frank would really like her. And I went, oh, God, all right. So I
Is this
went,
the same ranger from
yes, same
before?
ranger, same ranger. So I went to the pound and I picked up this dog and she was super cute. Little Maltese Terrier cross with, Bichon or Poodle or something. And anyway, she sat in the car looking at me the entire way home. It was really strange the way she looked at me, like she just didn't know what was happening. And I brought her home and I let her in, and Frank and her just fell in instant love. There's no
Aw.
other way to describe it. It was like they'd known each other their whole lives. And I ended up, after deciding to keep her, I did get her DNA done, and it turned out she has rat terrier in her. Given that we're in a small town and rat terriers are pretty rare, I would say that she's a descendant of his somewhere along the line.
I do have to ask about Ava and her foray into the fashion world at the Mile Up Easter Fair.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Please tell me the story of what happened.
So I was living in Mile Up, which is a really small town, very small, more like a holiday holiday homes. And I was living there. And the one event that they have every year is the Easter Fair. And it's really cute. It's like a little country fair, you know? And I did go down there with the dogs. There wasn't much to see. I went home. And then I had some family dropped by and we were chatting and my phone rang and it was someone saying, "Do you own two little dogs?" And I said, "Yeah." "What do you mean? They're here." And he said, "Are you absolutely sure about that?" I said, "No." And he said, "Well, they're at the fair." And I went, "What?" They took themselves back to the fair. So I went down there, got them, and there was a competition going on, which was dog with the waggliest tail, or they were giving ribbons for different things.
Mm.
But when I saw dog with the waggliest tail, I thought, that's something she can do because Ava couldn't do it. I mean, it's not that she couldn't, it's she wouldn't do anything else, any type of training. She would look at you, look cute, wag her tail, and then you'd end up giving her the treat anyway, right? So she played people. She pretended to be a bimbo, but she was not a bimbo. She was smarter than she looked. I thought, okay, I'm going to enter her. And I entered her, and she, of course, cleaned up. Dog with the waggliest tail. Her tail never stopped. It never stopped.
Just kept going.
Always. When I woke up in the morning, her tail would be wagging before she was even awake, before she would get up. Her
Oh, that's kind
tail,
of
you'd
adorable.
hear it go bang, bang, bang on the mattress, and then you'd look under, and there she was, you know. Waggliest tail. Yep.
Well, that's if you're going to win any kind of prize, winning for the waggliest tail is
Yeah.
probably a good prize to win, right?
Happy, happy, happy dog she was. Not like Frank. Frank was happy. I mean, he was content, but he had that seriousness about him. Ava was just happy, full of joy, absolutely loved everything about life. Loved cuddles, loved people, loved every animal. Just a happy, happy dog.
And how long did this love story between Ava and Frank last for?
Well, she was 14 when she was diagnosed with a tumor, a really aggressive tumor, unfortunately. So they were together for what, 12 years? Yeah.
Time.
And after I had to have her put to sleep, he was never the same. He just wasn't the same. He looked for her. Yeah, it was horrible. He gave up. But he was 2 years older than her as well. So he was 16 and he was probably starting to slow down anyway, but I do think he'd had enough. Yeah, he'd
Yeah.
had enough.
When his little friend left, that's when his heart left him
Yeah,
by the
so
sound of it.
he declined over 9 months after she died. Then he had to be put down because he was very bad at that point. Yeah, he just sort
That
of suddenly declined.
That must have been incredibly hard for you at the time, Naomi, because these two, like, wildly different kinds of personalities, but I love the fact that they brought some adventure into your
Oh,
life. They wasn't your adventures at times, but it was their adventures.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I imagine that would have been so hard for you.
It was hard, and also prior to them was Miles, my cat, and I'd had him for 23 years.
Oh, geez.
So it was one after the other. I mean, ended up being over, I think it was 18 months. But an 18-month period to lose, like the closest creatures to you, it was tough. It was really, really tough. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Tell me about Miles, because we
Miles.
haven't talked about Miles. Yeah, and having a cat for 23 years, that's it. That's an incredible chunk of your own life. When did Miles first come into the picture?
So Miles came into my life when I was in my 20s and I was working at a vet hospital. And I had taken on an it's funny how these things weave in and out, but I had taken on another kitten who was a ringworm kitten, and she unfortunately didn't even make it to her first birthday.
Oh,
And so I was very distraught by her death because she had been in, confinement for so long and she finally got her freedom and she was hit by a car tragically really soon after I got her home. And I felt terrible guilt and, it was horrible. And so I was at work and the vet nurses said, you need to go to the kitten ward because the kitten ward is like a therapy, like a clinic. If you're feeling sad, go to the kitten ward, right?
Yeah.
So I went to the kitten ward and there was a cage with 3 fluffy little kittens whose eyes were barely open yet. And they didn't know if they were gonna survive. They
Mm.
had been dumped at a shopping centre in a plastic bag, and they really were far too young to be away from their mother. So the vet nurse was hand rearing them. She was feeding them milk, and she couldn't get one of them to feed. He just wouldn't feed, and that was Miles. And I cuddled him for my own selfish, wanting some comfort myself, and he started sucking on my finger. And I tried to feed him milk and he would suck on my finger. He wanted that warmth, that comfort, and it was just so sweet. And he wasn't doing that with her. He was only doing it with me. So I started to feed him and all that kind of thing. And he bonded with me immediately. And it became pretty evident that he was going to be mine. So that was how I came to have Miles. I took him home. Uh, he was super cute. I had a relationship that was breaking up at that point, and when we moved out, we moved into a new place, and so it was him. At that time, it was him. It was my other cat, Audrey, and Ella. So that was how he started, and he was fine and sociable and normal until I went away for, I think it would have only been 2 weeks. I went overseas and I had a vet nurse come and stay at my house to look after them. And he disappeared. And the vet nurse was freaking out. I've lost him. I've lost him. And it turned out he hadn't lost him at all. He was just petrified. And he was never the same after that. He was so distraught that I had left that he stopped eating, he stopped drinking, and numerous times because you do have to go away from time to time, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Numerous times when I went away throughout his life, I would come back and he would have to go straight to a vet to be put on fluids. He couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle, and that would be me being away for even 3 days. It was terrible. So he was very, very dependent on me. So I ended up taking him on road trips and, you know, because I just couldn't leave him. I mean, a couple of times I did manage to when he got older, he got better, which is weird. I don't know why that was, but he did get better. And a couple of times I did have a pet sitter come and look after him and he was okay. But during the main part of his life, I would have to take him with me.
I have to know now, where did Miles travel to? Because it's not often you hear of a traveling cat.
No, it would be to my mum's place, really. So to another regional town, but her house. So I didn't have to worry about pet-friendly accommodation. I mean, I still had to worry about it because at my mum's place, she had dogs. They didn't necessarily like cats, but he would stay in my room and he would just live in that room. He seemed to not mind the car and he seemed to not mind being in a strange place as long as I was there. So if I was there, he was fine. And that's what he was like when we stayed at my mum's. He'd stay in the
And
bedroom and he'd just hang out with me.
and with Miles, because you said that Miles was with you and Frank lost Miles, and then obviously, oh, sorry, Ava lost Miles, and then Frank.
Well, they
I
both
can't
did.
remember how you put it,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. So when Miles died,
yeah.
I had Frank and Ava as well. Yeah, so it was the
Mhm.
3 of them. And they were really good pals. They'd been together for Frank's whole existence with me, Ava's whole existence with me, and for a very large chunk of Miles's life as well, the 3 of them. After I came home with the empty cat cage, I put it down on the ground. I had Miles as well that I had to bury, and I didn't know how it was going to affect them. So
Mm.
I didn't want them to be around when I was burying him anyway because I didn't want them to dig him up or anything. But I did let them sniff the cage, and Ava let out the most heart-wrenching howl I've ever heard. It was a sound I've never, ever heard her make before. Just one, Just one. And, for a dog whose tail never stopped wagging, that was interesting. And then she was okay. She was fine. But she definitely knew. She definitely knew. Yeah.
For some reason, the screen's gone all blurry, Naomi.
It's not your glasses.
No, it's not my glasses, it's my eyeballs. They've decided to leak.
Yeah. Yeah. That was really amazing to me. They look for them for a little while as well. They hear a noise and they run over, and you can see they're not running over to investigate, just investigate. They're running over with this almost look of hope,
That
It's
their friend is
yeah,
back.
it's really yeah, it is. It's really hard. But
And
they're
with
all 3 of them are in my garden now. I have a special place for them, a little garden, a little memorial garden, which has the ashes of Frank, the ashes of Ava, and the body of Miles under
wow,
there. And it's overgrown. I tell you what, another really interesting thing was after I buried Miles, because he was the first one to go. After I buried him, I put in a bird bath. And the next day, there was just the loudest noise, and I went out and there were these little honey eaters, like just millions of them on the bird bath having this bird party. They were in the water and, they were really loving it. It was so interesting. And what's weird is that they never came back after that. It was just the day after they were all there. And then, I mean, occasionally you'd have one, you'd have a willy
yeah.
wagtail or you'd see a honey eater or whatever. But this was just this whole massive crowd of little honey eaters. It was so weird. Anyway, yeah.
Do you ever think that I know this is a slightly strange topic, tangent, I should say. Do you ever feel like that they have come back and visited you?
Yeah, there've been some funny things. So there
Oh,
was
do tell.
there was that. There was that. The other
Yep.
really weird thing I had, and I've never been able to explain it, was and it was after Miles. I had a lantern, a big, like it was a lantern from dusk, that where you just put a candle in it. And this lantern, I didn't have anything in it. It was just sitting there as always. And I was watching TV, I was watching a movie, and there was a scene where they were walking out of a courtroom and I could hear this clang, clang, clang. And I thought, it's so strange that they're using an old fashioned bell to get people to come back into the courtroom in a contemporary movie. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'd had enough. I turned the thing off and I could hear clang, clang. This clang, clang was continuing. And I thought, what is going on? Ava and Frank were right over there looking at this lantern, couldn't figure out where it was. I picked it up. I put it down. It was still clanging. I have no idea what it was. It was the weirdest thing. I thought there might have been a bug in there. I looked in there, couldn't find a bug. Anyway, so I just went, okay, that's Miles saying hi, letting us know he's here. It's the only
Yeah.
thing I could think of.
Look, it's funny because my first ever dog, Coco, was a poodle, and Coco, I basically helped hand rear Coco because the over the road neighbor, their dog had Mishi was her name. She
Oh,
had puppies. I was 11 years old. I spent all my time with those puppies. I knew them inside out, upside down, and I used to go over there all the time and help feed them. And at the end, the people who had the puppies said to me, Sian, you can have this little dog because I'd bonded with it so much.
oh,
And Coco had a very brief life, sadly, because Coco was hit by a car.
oh.
And the day after Coco died, so Coco used to jump up on my bed, curl up in a ball
Mm.
next to me. And Coco, when we washed him, we used to wash him with Martha's wool mix. So this was
Oh,
a
yeah.
long time ago before there was such a thing as dog
Dog shampoo.
shampoo. I was 11 years old, people, born in 1978. So we're talking 80s, right? So in the 80s, Martha's wool mix. And when you washed a poodle with Martha's wool mix, they didn't smell like wool. They smelled like this interesting spice smell. And that's all I can remember is this interesting spice smell that Coco smelt like after he was
Yeah.
washed. And after he died, the day after he died, the night of, because obviously I was very upset. I loved my doggy very much. And it was early in the morning. So I was waking up and I had been crying all night the night before. And I was sort of, that stage where you're half awake and half asleep and you
Yeah.
don't really know what's happening in the world. I felt Coco jump up onto the bed, walk to where Coco usually walked, twirl around like he did, and then settle down. And I could smell it. I could
Yep.
smell him.
Yeah, yeah.
And I kind of opened my eyes and was like, what's going on? And of
Yeah.
course he wasn't there, but the indent of his body was on the cover of the bed.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
me, he was there. He was coming to
You
say
know,
goodbye.
sounds so many people have that experience, report that. It's
Yeah.
so interesting. I don't find it wacky at all. I mean, who knows? None of us really know. But I
No.
listen to a lot of near death experiences, and I'm always struck by, and I find a lot of comfort in the fact that so many people report seeing their pets when they have a near death experience. And I think, yep, we'll see them again. We'll see them again for sure.
Yeah, I hope so because you just kind of I loved that dog so much and I think, I've loved all of my pets from that point. And I've had crazy dreams about, my other I'm not very original with names, Naomi. So I had Coco and then my next dog was Mocha. That was my dog. I had also had Zach as well, but Zach ended up going from my dog to becoming my dad's dog.
Oh.
It's really funny because I look at Lucy, who's my greyhound now, and I kind of think, you know, I don't like I wonder what will happen when she leaves. And every time I think about it, I still get emotional because I'm
Yeah,
not ready to let go of her yet.
yeah,
But I was watching this clairvoyant, and he's a British fella based in Canada. I can't remember his name for the life of me. But he was asked a question by one of his audience saying, what happens to dogs in the afterlife? And he was like, well, your animals have an afterlife just like you, and their afterlife is the best experience that they're bound to have.
yeah,
His explanation of it was, so he goes, if your animal could pick, if it was a dog and it could pick the best day it ever had, it might be running in the ocean, it might be playing on the beach, it might be chasing a frisbee.
yeah,
Your dog is going to have the best afterlife that it's ever imagined.
yeah,
So your dog might come and say hello to you, but then it's its afterlife and it deserves its afterlife. And actually, I found that very comforting. I was like,
yeah,
I hope my cat is sitting in the garden
yeah,
somewhere because
yeah,
Edie passed away and she is, just soaking up the sun somewhere. Or Coco is having the best time running through the golf course, which is what Coco used to like to
yeah,
do, and Coco got in trouble because of that. Coco got hit by a car. So I really hope that our animals have an amazing afterlife. And if we're lucky enough, they come back and visit us. Maybe
yeah,
sometimes,
yeah.
crossing fingers.
Maybe in our dreams too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I dream
definitely.
about them a lot. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And how did having your three beautiful pets, Frankie, Ava, and Miles, at that time, how did it change you as a person?
Having them or losing them?
Both having
Yeah.
them and losing them.
I mean, they were so much a part of me. I couldn't tell you. I don't think there would have been a work colleague or a friend or whatever that wouldn't have known their names, that wouldn't have known, what they meant to me and how big a part of my life they were. They were my family, and that's the thing. That's the hardest thing when you lose them, I think, is that, I mean, they were tiny creatures. They were, Frank was little and Ava was little and Miles was, definitely very skinny at the end. But the absence that they leave is huge. The emptiness that you feel in your house. Your house doesn't feel the same. Yeah, I mean, look, I have others now who for some reason really want to be in this thing. They didn't show their faces before and now they're all coming here.
I love it because I've seen one of your dogs running in the background, just a
Yes,
flash in the
yes.
background.
I have one dog who's crazy. She's a pup still. Well, she's a year old. She should be settling down now, but she hasn't settled down. And I have two cats. And I actually feel like they're almost picked. I feel like Hazel, as crazy as she is, was 100% picked by Ava because
Why is
she's
that?
nutty and funny and she makes me laugh. And, I really, yeah. And I feel like Miles picked the boys. I mean, the boys that I've got now, were, kittens whose mother had actually killed their siblings, which is really unusual for cats to do. But
Mm.
they got taken off her as a result and were hand reared. So they were hand reared like Miles, and they came up on my Facebook feed or whatever very soon after Miles had died, and I just wasn't sure I was ready, but I kept on seeing them, and I kept thinking, "Oh, I hope they get a nice home," and then I'd look and they were still there. And then I called and I spoke to the vet nurse who was hand rearing them, and she said, as soon as she heard my voice, she said, "You're their mum. You have to take them." They've made the house feel like a home again as well. I wouldn't have been able to bear an empty house, I don't think.
Yeah.
But the boys came along before Frank had died and before Ava had died. It was after Miles. They already had the nod of approval from the dogs. And then after Ava died, I got Hazel, hoping that that would give Frank a bit of a new lease on life, but it didn't. He wasn't interested. He didn't want a bar of her, which was fine, and he didn't last that much longer after that anyway. He missed Ava, and that was all there was to it, you know? So there's been a crossover with all of them. I wouldn't be able to handle a house that didn't have any pets in it, I don't think.
What do you think if Frank, Ava, and Miles were there right now? What do you think they'd say about you if they could?
If they could.
Yeah.
God. I hate to think Frank Frank would probably say she's all right, but he would mean that he loved me very much.
Yeah.
He would downplay it. Ava would be cutesy, and she would say she loved our dancing sessions. We used to dance around the living room, and I would hold her like a baby and she would fall asleep. She loved it. Loved it. I think Ava thought I was fun and funny, and she just wanted to make me laugh. So she would say something silly and funny, no doubt. And Miles, I was his everything, and and he was my everything too, really. So yeah, he would say just beautiful things. I know he would. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Naomi, I am so grateful to learn about all three and share this part of your heart because they are part of your heart. Share
Big
this part
help.
of your heart with us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to honor them, these beautiful souls that came into my life, and that aren't here, and that so many people didn't get to know them. I feel sorry for everyone that didn't get to know them.
Well, now we have a better idea. I have a better idea
Yeah.
of these beautiful souls, Frank, Ava, and Miles. And I'm looking forward to talking to you again in future about your other rescue animals
Yeah.
because you have rescued so many and I just appreciate it so much. So looking forward to talking to you again, but very grateful for the journey you've taken me on to learn about Frank, Ava, and Miles. It's just been wonderful and beautiful. And thank you for the tip.
Thank you, Sian.
If you like Who's a Good Human, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And if you have a story to tell or you know someone that does, please get in touch. Thanks for watching and see you next time.